So, in September 2018, this brother and sister, Yoshiko and Tahira, walked into a pharmacy and bought 2 bottles of surgical spirit. And get this, it wasn't their first trip that week. They'd been in a few times already, always grabbing 2 bottles each time. What on earth did they need all that alcohol for? The pharmacy assistant, obviously, started getting suspicious. You don't get many customers that enthusiastic about medical-grade alcohol. Her suspicions went through the roof when she got close to them and caught a whiff of something that definitely smelled like death. Today, we are diving into a truly chilling case that entangled a Japanese family. And later we'll look at a couple of similar ones. You're on the channel where we explore real crimes and strange phenomena from time to time. If that's your thing, hit that subscribe button. The Sutaki family wasn't small. The mother, Michika, the daughters Yoshiko and Rina, and the son, Tahira, they all lived together in a small house in the picturesque town of Helms. The family had, after Michika married a British man back in '98. When that marriage fell apart, the Yasut family, which was probably their real surname, moved into this very house and basically shut out the world. They had no TV, no radio, no phones, and they rarely spoke to their neighbors. Rina was the most sociable of the bunch. She went to a private school and was pretty popular there. In 2006, she got into Cambridge University. People there knew her as friendly and outgoing too. She had a good circle of friends and her grades were solid. But after graduating from Cambridge, she moved back into the family home and pretty quickly cut ties with all her old friends, turning into a reclusive shut-in. Just like the rest of her family, nobody in the town, not even people on her street, really knew she existed. The papers said she was a talented artist who'd even sold some of her work. But unfortunately, I couldn't find any examples of it. Not much is known about her life post-Cambridge, except that something really bad happened that seriously messed with her mental health. Maybe it was the isolated lifestyle the whole family was living, but a lot of people think it was something much darker. In 2013, she actually went to see a doctor for psychiatric help because she felt herself that things weren't right. She had severe mood swings and told the doctor she was afraid she might one day attack her own family members. She went to a few more sessions, but it seems she never really got the help she needed. Then in 2018, her biological father, who still lived in Japan, passed away. It hit her incredibly hard and sent her into a deep depression. She basically lost her appetite, ate very little, and only occasionally drank water. Her condition got worse and worse over time until she could barely get out of bed. Her family was worried, but they were also scared about what might happen if they took her to a hospital, even though they tried to persuade her. In the end, they decided to respect her independence and left her be dot on August 18th. Her life came to an end. She died peacefully. But that's where the really bizarre part starts. Despite her death, her family couldn't accept that she was gone. So, her body just stayed in her bed. Her brother and sister kept taking care of her as if she was still alive. In a later talk with a psychiatrist, her sister said, "I thought she was still breathing. I even thought I could feel a pulse." Even though she hardly spoke to us, we kept encouraging her to eat and drink. It's strange, but it seemed like she was eating and drinking with real enthusiasm. It's hard to explain. But even without physical nourishment, it was like she was feeding on something spiritual, something much more substantial. So, Rina's body stayed in that bed for several more weeks. Her family kept believing she was alive, even as it began to decompose and the smell filled the house. By the end of September, the decomposition had presumably reached an unbearable stage, forcing the family to do something. They started making frequent trips to the local pharmacy, buying a suspiciously large amount of surgical spirit. A few reports mentioned the family tried to embalm the body themselves, but none go into specific details I could find. It's unclear if they were trying to inject the alcohol or just using it externally to try and mummify her. Doesn't that seem a bit odd? For people who supposedly believed she was still alive? It reminds me of a similar case in India, where a family kept their relative's body for over a year. cleaning it with household chemicals, believing he was just in a deep coma anyway. It was these constant alcohol purchases and the smell of death on the brother and sister that finally tipped off the pharmacy staff. On September 25th, Yoshiko and Tahira came in again for their 2 bottles. The pharmacist on duty, Eva, noticed Tahira was carrying a pink folder and cord A, glimpse of the name Rena on, a piece of paper inside. There are 2 versions of what happened next. In one, Eva pointed at the paper and asked them straight up, "Is all this alcohol for her?" Their panicked reaction prompted her to call the police. Another article says that on the same day, roofers working on the Sutaki house smelled the horrific odor coming from inside and called the cops themselves. Whichever way it happened, the combination of alerts was enough. Police went to check out the house. What they found was horrifying. Rena's body, which had been there for over a month, was reportedly partially mummified from their amateur preservation attempts. The family was arrested. The medical examiner confirmed Rena had died of natural causes, but the family's subsequent actions were treated as an offense against a body. After all the necessary procedures, Rena's remains were finally laid to rest, and her family underwent psychiatric evaluation. This whole tragic story is an extreme example of how mental illness, worsened by social isolation and unprocessed grief, can lead to a complete break from reality with terrifying consequences.